You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 4th, 2023 meeting of the Long Beach Fire Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me out in Zoom land. It looks like it's working, but it's hard to tell. Anyway, Mr. Clayton. Anyway, so if you didn't get an agenda, there are some on the corner. If they're all gone, we'll copy some. If somebody else needs one, we can get some copy right down the hall. So does anybody need an agenda? Are you good? Everybody's good. I'm getting thumbs up. So we'll start off with our public safety building as our number 8 here. In terms of, we'll just give a little rundown on the progress of the project. We had a design meeting this week. We're at 90% on the drawings. They have their subcontractors coming in with pricing at the end of this week. So our cost impacts will be available within the next week or two. At that point, we'll assemble the costs and the narratives on the changes that we made since the 30% drawings to get to the 90% drawings. And then we will approach the council with those cost impacts, and then whatever decisions they have to make, we'll probably bring them to the attention of the fire commission first. So we may have to have a special meeting to take a look at all those cost impacts. In terms of the financing came through. The bond proceeds are at the trustees as we speak, at the trustee bank. So we're ready to roll. One payment was made to the town of Long Beach to compensate for the payment that the town made out of town funds back in March. I'm sorry, back in April, essentially. Should have been made in March, but at any rate, it was made in April, and the payment came out of the bond proceeds. It should arrive at the town if it hasn't already. There was, so we're done with the financing as far as that goes. The building corporation has met and been formed, and they actually came to our progress meeting. So a couple of them want to be a little more active than not, which is good. We sent them the drawings as well as I think the council this week. So we're trying to disseminate information. Once the drawings are 100% complete, we'll get them on the website as well so the public can see them. Right now, we're still in the process of finalizing those, although we're very close. I don't have an agenda item for it, but we did apply for the building permit from the town. The building permit deadline for their coming meeting on the 12th is this Friday, the 5th. So we're in good shape on that. The septic permit has been applied for downstate, and that approval is in hand. The septic permit is also now in the hands of the county health department, and we hope to have their approval before the 5th deadline at the end of this week. So that's all I have on the public safety building, unless one of you other board members have anything else to say about that. Okay. Fire truck purchase is our next item. The fire truck purchase has already occurred. The delivery is sometime in the next probably 12 to 14 months. We don't have to pay for it until the truck arrives, which is great, but we do probably want to arrange for the financing sometime in the next few months. So that's on the agenda for the town council as well, and we'll need to address that. We do have one proposal from one bank. We need to get some additional proposals for the financing on the new truck. Mary Lou, you asked about fire department finances. Tom Yep is here, so that's our next agenda item. Tom, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to address any questions about financing. As you know, we get a remuneration from the town. We get 4 quarterly payments that the town pays us. We have a detailed contract with the town. In that contract, it's clearly stated that, upon writing, at least only one time a year, the fire department is obligated to provide a summary of how we spend the money from the town. We did that meeting back in December. I believe our treasurer, Blake Applegate, sat down with the town clerk's office and went through last year's expenses. But the contract is clearly stated as by design that we weren't going to continue to provide onesie-twosie types of expenses, but we would give you an annual breakdown, and that's how the contract was written. So we are honoring that contract for how the town pays its money. There's been a lot of questions about our fundraising. If you also go into our contract between the town and Long Beach, any bank account that we have is actually the property of the department. So we manage the fundraising account as a department. I will provide you some data on fundraising. We keep meticulous records on this. 20% of the community donates to the Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department. It's only 20%. It's not obligated. We send a letter every year to our residents. It's not something that you should feel compelled to do, but people do it just like any other charity. They feel like this is important and they will provide funding. Our letter clearly states that it's for equipment and training purposes. Use it to supplement what we cannot do from the town. So that will require us to add additional things like equipment. For example, I wore my pants out over the last 19 years. I just got a new pair of pants. That costs a lot of money. We didn't have it in our budget. It comes out of our fundraising. We upgraded our helmets last year. We don't have the money out of our remuneration for all that. Some of that comes from our fundraising. So, we basically, that fundraising is just to supplement equipment training purchases. As you may recall from a previous town council meeting, we also agreed that we would start setting aside some of our fundraising money to support the additional equipment that's going to be required on the new fire truck. So we're in the process of doing that as well. The other thing I'm financing, we submit our 501c 990 report to the IRS every year. If you go out onto ProPublica.org, there are 10 years of data for our tax returns. You won't see the 2021 tax return because the IRS is backlogged in posting those things to websites like that. We are current through 2020. That has line items for all of our fundraising, our grants, et cetera, as well as what we get from the town. And then it highlights the expenses and tells our profit or loss. So you'll be able to see a 10-year summary of that if you so desire. But at this point, that's pretty much what I have to say about fundraising and reporting. Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I just want Tom to thank you for that report. I'm going to spin back to the fire protection agreement that we have in place today, and under section 7, under department obligations. And I'm saying this in the context of how this relationship has changed significantly since this original agreement was agreed upon. Since then, the town has made financial commitments for both a fire engine and a public safety building. So I think it might be a good time for us to consider, as a part of our normal reporting and on this agenda, just where we are in financials on a monthly basis. And under this section, it says the department shall file all required financial reports with state and federal agencies and shall make copies available to town upon request.
Once a year.
What's that?
Once a year.
Yeah, those are total expenses. I'm talking about financial reports now, the ones that you submit. And that's once a year.
Right, but we would review our expenses with you once a year upon writing. We also have requirements in 501(c) to file with the IRS. We do that, and it is on a publicly available website.
And that's done on an annual basis.
As on an annual basis.
Okay, not quarterly or monthly. All
The
right.
IRS requires an annual tax submission, and we do that every year.
Yeah. So what I suggest we do, we formalize. And I'm assuming you file as of 12/31.
We file as a, whatever the tax, we have an extension on 2022 right now that's been filed. Our accountants are filed an extension to file the 2022 IRS 990, 2021, 2020, all those have been filed.
All right. So I think the thing we should do then is, once the extension is completed.
It's a 20-page document. IRS, you've all seen them. You fill these out, your own personal. We have to fill one out for the fire department, and that's all happening for the will.
All I'm asking, I'm not asking a lot here. What I'm saying is that once the extension is over and you've filed for 2022,
Yeah.
then I think that should be part of our.
Sure, we can put it in the annual review. Yeah.
I think, yeah, but make it as part of our fire commission meeting.
That's fine. Yeah, it's going to be an annual thing. I mean, that's all.
When do we anticipate that the extension will be
The
completed?
extension, we have until November. I assume we'll do it before then, but the extension goes until November. And if you go out on the website today, you'll see the IRS is a year in arrears right now in publishing and auditing the 2021 reports right now.
All right, and then the other thing that you already brought up, which was reporting the expenses for the year. In the agreement, it says by July 1st. Is that the date you're complying with?
I didn't see July 1. I saw by request anytime during the year.
Yeah, that's under section 7, but there's another reference to total expenses. In addition to this one, it says to be reported by July
We
1st.
should do that July 1, that would be our one-time time. I think we did it in December last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I'm okay with December. I'm okay
We
with it.
wrote this contract
Yeah.
by design that you didn't want to be inundated with the fact that, last month I spent $400 on radio repairs. I spent $50 on wipes for my face masks. I spent another $400 on engine two repairs. I don't think you guys want to see that on a monthly.
No, I think really the issue really is the concentration of expenses and the total of expenses on an annual basis, not looking down to $400 line items.
That was the spirit of this agreement, was to do that. That's what this report that we have from the IRS, it shows our gifts, contributions, grants, it shows what we get from the town, and it shows our expenses.
Okay.
You made that profit difference.
So we have, the agreement that we have then is that when the extension has been satisfied, then we're going to bring the financial report to this meeting and go over it.
Yeah.
And I think at the time that we submit our annual expenses, that gets memorialized as well into this agenda.
Yeah, I think it's a good discipline for the fire commission. We haven't had that
Yeah.
discipline in the past.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
No, I think it's great, but I just want you to know, we have 10 years of financial data that's been posted to the IRS. It's on, I actually went this afternoon to ProPublica.org and it's all out there. The only year that's missing is 2021, because the IRS hasn't, they're COVID backed up.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just memorializing the two different items into our agenda twice a year or once a year, whatever's
Fine.
appropriate. And I think that July 1st day was agreed upon because we basically did the agreement about that time of year. But it's close to it.
Yeah, it was, I read it as annually. We'll do it at the right time. If we were to do it today, we would be showing you January, February, March.
Right.
Not a lot of data.
So I think 12/31 would be the right date for
Right.
both of the items.
Yeah, it'll be filed by now.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else to add?
Yeah, I've looked at some of that data that's been filed with the state in the last 10 years. The department's received, according to those reports that you filed, they received about $750,000 worth of contributions,
On what?
which seems pretty substantial. And then plus then you get monies from the town every year for the last 10 years. All I ask is, every year you send a report for contributions and I send some money and you said 20% of the residents send some money, but you never report, okay, we raised $5,000 this year. But I don't know if you give money and you'd likely get a thank you or something. And what did you?
I'll give you my philosophy on fundraising. Fundraising shouldn't be used to pay the operating expenses of the fire department.
I'm just saying that, if those reports are accurate, which I presume they are.
CPAs and what aggregating company, they're pretty reputable.
I didn't say they weren't reputable. My point is that you received $750,000 in contributions,
Over what
and-
time
and
frame, John?
over the last 10 years,
Pulling a number out of the air there, John. What time frame for that number?
the last 10 years.
10 years.
So
Okay.
up until 2020 or 21.
It'd be nice if we had backup for those kinds of numbers if you're gonna use them in a public.
Well, they're all public, but anyway, all I'm saying is that's fine that you've done that. But what have we spent all the money on? That's all. We're spending $3 million on a fire station, which we definitely need. But, the town's gonna have to pay for that. If you're bringing in that kind of money in contributions, I think we ought to know that. Now, if you haven't been bringing that in, then okay, then those reports must not be accurate. I don't.
The fundraising is given by the community, John. It's not given to the town. But we will buy equipment that the town will then take ownership of. It's a benefit to the town. It's not part of the budget, not part of the operating budget here.
I know
And
that.
I'll give you some more data on the fundraising if you care. 20% again of this community donates to our fundraising campaign. 1/3 of those donations came from 5 donors. They're not asking me how I spend money. It's like any other charity. I give money to charities all the time. I do it because I expect, I like the charity, I believe they're doing the right thing. I don't care how they spent my $100 whether I bought a case of water or 1/3 of a helmet.
I think just to step in though, I think the spirit of the questions we're asking is based on the fact this relationship has changed significantly over the last 2 years, and more specifically, in that December timeframe where approvals were done for both the public safety building and for a fire engine. And so I don't think we're being unreasonable by asking questions that where this relationship has changed, the investment is significant, and it's changed dramatically from what it was in the past. And so I think, Tom, I don't think anybody's trying to nitpick, but I think the issue here is how do we account for things on both sides of the party? They're both in terms of the department and in terms of the town. And all we're talking about is let's just strengthen our reporting.
That's why our reporting is strong. All the stuff we do.
No, I'm saying,
Everything is on.
I appreciate the fact that you're raising your voice and are taking exception to this. I too can raise my voice.
That's fine.
How's that? Is that loud enough?
I've been nitpicking.
Yeah, I'm gonna take over here as the running this meeting, okay? We've talked about reporting. You guys have expressed the desire to know more about fundraising. Tom has given you an answer to that question. I think we've kind of beat this horse as far as I can see.
I'm not sure that I've seen the conclusion, but we'll see.
And I'd like to see what we're spending the money on. I don't need to see every piece of oil and, pants and whatever, but you certainly have
That's
subject areas of, okay, we spent $10,000 on such and such, and we spent so much on clothing and all this. This is
That's the annual accounting that Blake sat down with the clerk treasurer's office in December and went through that with Tom. We did.
Believe you, we haven't seen it at town council, haven't seen it at the fire commission.
How about this? How about if you guys ask Helen for what she's got, and if you still feel there's a deficit of information, then we can address that mission meeting. Would that be fair?
May I defer to our town clerk, follow up on that?
Yeah, please, I reviewed the information. It's very nice.
You're not on yet. Very good.
Hi, Tim Perry, Clerk Treasurer, Long Beach. So, Tom, I reviewed that information with Helen when she met with Applegate, and I felt that a lot of it explained things, but I, in fact, had questions about the source and amounts of the fundraising dollars. And I'm not saying that it wasn't there, but
Fundraising is not the town's money.
I'm not saying it is. But if we were to account for it or we had a need to show it, I wasn't able to identify it. But if it becomes available, I'll be happy to share it with the town council. Thank you.
Let me make one quick comment. Thanks, Tim. Let me make one quick comment relative to fundraising. I've been doing this for almost 45 years. We used to knock on doors. Now we do a mail campaign. We get a reasonable sized donation from, as Tom mentioned, 20% of the people. My take on that is the town supplies fire service as an obligation to the community. If a little widow next door to a mega millionaire gives us $100 and the mega millionaire doesn't give us anything on our fundraising, I don't really see that as a fair way to raise money to offset the town's obligation for fire service. So, that's just my little comment on fundraising. It's not intended to be supplementary to the responsibilities of the town to provide fire service. That being said, that's just my personal comment on the issue. I think we've kind of beat this horse dead. We'll get together. If you guys feel like the information that the town council had or the town clerk has is inadequate, then come back to the fire commission next time. We'll address it. But right now, Tom's answered the questions relative to the reporting. I think we're done with this issue as far as I can see.
And if I can, John, I just want to apologize to you guys for the tone of my voice, but I'm frustrated. We work really hard for this.
we get frustrated too, because we're responsible for the financial integrity of the town. And I see us spending a heck of a lot of money here in the last 6 months. I'm getting real nervous and I need some
What I would, I'm going to get pissy.
help in satisfying my concern.
What I would appreciate is a thank you for the services fire department did during the month of April.
I think we demonstrated that, Tom, with committing $3.5 million between a fire engine and a public safety building.
Yeah, keep in mind.
Let me finish, sir. Please, let me finish. I don't think we're questioning the level of service that you're providing. or your support of this community to protect us against fires and obviously medical issues. I never said that. It never came out of my mouth. What I'm saying is this relationship has changed. This town has done a significant financial commitment to the volunteer fire department. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you guys have a problem with that and you don't want the world to change, then I scratch my head on that one.
I'm a little concerned about your comment. As far as the relationship between the fire department and the town, it hasn't changed in the 40 years I've been doing it. We've been asking for these things for decades. So I'm very,
It's happened.
very proud and pleased that our town council took the initiative and got these things done.
Yeah.
As far as the relationship, it hasn't changed one iota. It's the town's commitment to doing what it should have been doing over the last 30 or 40 years has changed, and I'll grant you that. And I'm very pleased and happy to be on the council with you gentlemen and Mary Lou that passed those things so that we could make some progress toward the goals that we've enumerated for the last 30 years that I'm aware of in multiple contract iterations to the town. This is the first time the town has actually bellied up to the bar and done what it should have been doing all these last 30 years. As you may know, we talked about ad nauseum, the equipment in that fire department is ancient. It's out of date. It doesn't meet NFPA requirements. And you guys have done a wonderful thing this year. But to say that the relationship has changed, I'm a little confused about that, Mike. But you know what? We beat this horse.
When I say relations change, I say financial commitment. Which, as you have said, didn't happen for 30 years. I call that a change in relationship.
Well, that's fine. It's semantics at this point. How much more do you want to beat this
I don't
horse?
think it's semantics.
Well, we can agree to disagree then. How much more do you want to beat this horse? I think we pretty much accomplished our goals, have we not?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. Well, then let's stay the rest of the night. What else do you want to talk about? Is there new information you want to share or new questions you want to ask, or do we just want to keep haranguing each other?
I asked the questions I wanted to ask.
Okay, yeah, me too. Don, do you have anything else you want to add? Essentially, that's my last agenda item. At this point, I'm going to ask if there's anybody out in Zoom land that would like to raise any issues. Because we have a large crowd here tonight and this is a commission meeting, we're going to hold your comments to 2 minutes. So if there's anybody out in Zoom that would like to speak, you'll have to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and start talking. I don't see anybody out there. So I will open it up for anybody that's in the crowd tonight. And again, you do need to step up to the microphone and turn it on, and then we're going to hold you to 2 minutes. So if there's any questions or comments from the public, you're welcome to come on up now.
I got it. This is just catching up. Here, on the 24.
You gotta turn.
You got to turn it on now, sure. Hold it down for a little bit and then,
Can't hear
well, the crowd can't hear you, Cheryl.
it.
Now you're good.
I don't know, I told everybody.
Yank that, yeah, I know. Yank that thing down toward your mouth a little bit, and then you'll be fine. There you go.
2409 St. Lawrence Ave. I just have a couple questions because I don't know the answers to them. How old is that contract and how often does it get reviewed?
That contract was renewed about 2021, I believe.
In 21?
Yeah.
Okay, just out of curiosity. The other thing is when you're talking about the expense of equipping people, you guys have a differentiate between active and inactive members, because I know there's talk about having 28 or whatever members on the department, but there's a number of those people that are clearly not active.
Now,
Are you still equipping those people and doing, so?
we actually reuse their equipment. If you go into our fire station, you'll see bins of old gear that is sitting in that fire
I'm
station.
just saying, so when you're buying new helmets and stuff, you're not buying them for people.
We're buying new helmets to upgrade the, we had old helmets that when you're wearing them for 15 hours, your head just up.
Oh, I don't have any beef with having.
Yeah, we upgraded, we try to actually try to recycle as much of that equipment as we can, as long as it's safe.
So of those 28 people, like how many-ish do you consider active?
When I report that number, they're active. They're showing up on calls.
I'm sorry?
When I report that number, they are active. The ones showing up on calls,
The 8 people that you mentioned the last couple of meetings. 8 people.
28.
You at call. you say-
That's an average turnout number. So when I say the average number that show up, they show up for a fire call at the Hacienda. For example, last night we had a call at the Hacienda. We had 6 people en route before it was called off as a false alarm. We wrote that down as 6 people attended. When we had the fire at 1302 Lakeshore Drive, we had 15 people there. Now we called a few other departments, Michiana, they're all told we have about 25 people battling that fire at 1302. So,
I just,
No, it's an average number, similar, yeah, if you, for a fire call, whether it's, yeah, real or a fire alarm, medical is 5. We actually, we'll have more people that stand outside. But yeah, we try to track just the
Okay,
average.
we're at 2 minutes, Cheryl. Do you have anything else?
Okay.
Quick?
no, I really don't.
I'm happy to talk offline with you as well, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? I mean, that exterior door might be.
This thing's still on?
Yeah, they're letting every fly in the county in.
I just got a couple of questions on the firehouse capacity, the new firehouse. You're gonna have a classroom in there. How big will it be? How many people will it hold? Will it hold the 30 firemen that you have?
The intent is to have that be a multi-use room for the town
That's what,
and
Yeah,
fire.
it is.
right.
It's designed as a multi-use room to be used for the town if they choose. As you know, this room is relatively small for some of the meetings that the town likes to hold. So in lieu of being over there at the community center where the heating system bangs and makes it difficult to hear each other, we're going to be able to use that meeting room for other town uses.
Well, my question is, what will the capacity be?
You'd have to look at the drawings. So if you want to see the 90% drawings, I can get them to whoever wants to see them.
Oh, I seen the 90% drawings.
Well,
That's why I was asking the
But
question.
I think we have a square footage on it right now. I don't know that we have a capacity level on it.
The architect can answer
We
that.
have square footage.
I would think that you'd have,
You're in a minute, Bob, just so you know.
well, I would think that the capacity would be at least the amount of firemen we have, it's just 30.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's made to replace this room.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Absolutely.
The other thing I was gonna ask you is on major structure fires. Do you people have an incident report that's available?
The incident report is being finalized and the investigation is actually being done by the state fire marshal.
Okay,
On 1302, but we do have an incident report on every incident.
Every incident, we document every report, every medical call, every fire call. And then we file with the state.
I was just interested in the major structure fires.
Yeah, no, we have to, as you can imagine, all the insurance companies, we get a lot of insurance investigators that are looking for our report. Major structure fires, we typically have the state fire marshal in, and this last fire, we had the state fire marshal's office in, they came and took ownership of the investigation on the morning of.
Okay, thank you.
You got anything else? Okay. Anybody else?
Hi, Kathy. Is it on?
Yes. That way they can hear you out there in La La Land.
Kathy Brown, 2100 Oakenwall Drive. I know I've been out of the loop a little bit, but I'm shocked that we purchased a fire truck before we have our building. Why?
Well, Kat,
what's
the
going on?
fire truck is a 2-year delivery. If you've been following the national press at all in the last few years, supply chain issues are very dramatic. So first of all, that truck that we're replacing is over 25 years old.
1991.
Almost 30 years old. No, it's over 30 years old. So it's way out of date from a safety perspective and also from the National Fire Protection Association, which governs, much like OSHA does, our whole industry, fire service. So that truck is way, way out of date. Our other one is soon to be out of date. But at any rate, the reasoning behind getting that thing replaced was because it needed to be replaced. So the town, in their infinite wisdom, decided to replace it. The reason we went for the truck first was because the delivery time, because of supply chain issues, is approximately 18 to 24 months when we placed the order back in, I believe, November.
Yeah.
So we knew that if we were successful, we'd be able to get that station up, meaning the public safety building up, and then the truck would be available shortly thereafter.
So
So we'll see.
we would expect that truck to come next summer, probably.
Will the building be finished by next month?
The schedule for the building right now is to finish up by year's end.
Wow.
It's very
Okay.
aggressive.
I have another, I guess, cost impact question because all of our taxes keep going up and up and up. And, some of us are not as financially secure as others. So, how do we have any idea what impact it's going to
Okay,
be on? our taxes?
let's cut to the chase on that one.
Okay.
If you attended the December 27th meeting when we made the presentation to the town, you would know. If you didn't, I'm sorry you did,
I was
but,
out of town.
and we had to do that in a short time frame. It was suggested by Mary Lou that we do that. So we hold a public session so everybody could be made aware of what we were doing. So what we did was we presented the justification and the affordability. The affordability was addressed by the Center and Associates, which is our town municipal accounting advisor, takes care of our, helping us with our books and some of our submissions to the state. They reviewed our financial situation, and based on that and our capital expenditure plan that we developed over the last 2 years, essentially, we realized that we could afford it. So in terms of tax impact, then the relative tax impact is basically nil. We have a GO bond that's out now for about $1 million that we did the shore protection work for over the last year, back in 19, when the lake was going to take our stops away, as you know, right there.
Right.
So we had to do that. So the taxes, because of that, then the taxes are at a level, including that GO bond. What we're going to do now is we're going to make interest payments for the first 4 years of this note, such that when that GO bond is paid off, this will kick in with principal and interest. So the first 4 years will be, I think it's 4 years, all these schedules are on the website, or shortly will be, because we just got all the bond information, because it just happened on Tuesday. But all that information is available if you want to dive down into the weeds. But essentially what it means is the payment, the $300,000 annual payment, will be paid for by two things. One will be the amount that was going to the GO bond, okay, because that'll be paid off. Another thing that it will be paid for is something called a local option tax. That's an income tax that the LaPorte County Council, in their infinite wisdom, passed last year, which gives the town of Long Beach approximately $270,000 annually, which has to be spent on public safety. It has to be spent on police or fire. It can be spent. That's money we didn't even know we had, okay? And it's not in the tax levy. It's just, I'm not going to say free money because it's not free. It comes out of the working people in LaPorte County. But we get that $270,000 as of this current year. So the intent was we're going to spend about 70 or 80 of that on police salaries right now. And that'll leave us another $180,000, $190,000 available. So in addition to what we originally thought we could afford based on what I described to you about the GO bond being paid off, we also have the luxury of this money coming in that we never expected. So that went into the affordability calculations late last year when we realized it was really going to happen, because as you know, in politics, they tell you things and sometimes it doesn't happen. This actually happened. So the money is starting to come in. So the intent is to pay the payments out of those two sources, essentially.
So this is just a small side note. Where are people going to park for meetings? Because you're taking the whole parking lot, right?
Well, we're not taking the whole parking lot. There's
Giving you a new one.
Yeah, there's a new parking lot that's going to go between the two buildings. So, I mean, I can get into all kinds
Between this building and that.
Yes, correct.
Where the current fire station is today, that becomes a parking lot.
Oh, you're tearing down this,
Yes.
the fire station.
Yeah,
Correct.
there will be a parking lot connecting the two buildings. Won't be as many parking spots as you have today, but it will
Okay,
be
so you're tearing down the back section of this.
taking
I'm
down.
going to go in the northeast corner,
Okay,
and the lot will be between the two buildings. And the nice part about that is, number one, we don't have to vacate our station until later in the process, which helps us in terms of, the ability to keep the trucks on our roof. And then the other thing it does is it gives the town future a nice swap through here. Assuming the pizza joint falls down in one of these years and the town accumulates that or lines up with that property, you're going to have this nice big slug right through here. So in terms of future, I think it's a nice plan.
okay. All right, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
Mary Lou McFadden, 2714 Duffy Lane. The reason I brought it up is I do read the paper and listen to the news. And I don't like to put people on the spot, but I heard that all volunteer fire departments in LaPorte County get $10,000. So I asked Tom in the meeting, he said, yeah, but we haven't gotten it yet. So then I reached out to other volunteer fire departments, which are completely different than the way ours is. They are self-sufficient. They have their own building. They have their own equipment. And then they charge each town that they supply things to. And they said each month we report contributions and it's in our minutes. And I just think when the police department, I'm going to use this as an example, when they get a contribution from a local person, we don't need to know who it is, but they say that in their monthly meetings. And I think that would be nice for our town people to know. So that's what I have to say. And I just think it's important to be transparent. The town's making a huge commitment. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
I have another question. I'm back up
It's
here.
okay. We get to 6 o'clock, we might not allow it now.
Yeah, everybody's gonna go home. I don't even know if you can answer this one, but I know we're gonna have a lease back to the town from the holding company. And I just wondered, is the lease,
It's not a holding company, it's called a building corporation, but go ahead.
yeah, well, and you're probably fine. Is that gonna be a triple net lease?
Bob, if you have specific questions about the lease, all that paperwork is going to be on the website if it's not already. You can query the town clerk's office and get answers to all those questions.
Well, I just wonder that because usually with triple.
I don't even know what a net lease is. I'm not an attorney. Maybe John Coker can speak to that. I don't know.
Basically, they're going to, we're going to pay them whatever if you look at the bond payment schedule, whatever that is, that's what they're going to get every year for 20 years, 21 years, whatever it is. And when it's all paid off, then they'll send the property back to the corporation and the town will get the property back.
Well,
People in the building corporate have no financial interest in any of this. They don't have any interest in the land or anything like that. They're just a holding company or a building corporation. But if this is not going to be owned by the municipality, it'll be subject to property tax.
that's not true one bit, Bob.
It isn't.
No.
No.
This is a state allowed by state code construct that's used by municipalities, school systems, sewage districts, all kinds of municipal entities in the state of Indiana. It's allowed. When this building was remodeled, that's how they did it. They formed a building corporation. Some of those individuals have passed on, God bless them. They formed a building corporation. And what it does, Mr. Coker can ably do this much more than I can, but it allows the town to hold on to its borrowing capacity. That's essentially why we went with this construct. So John can speak to it much better than I can.
Yeah, that's why we did it, because if we would take a general purpose bond on the building, we'd be in our bonding unit. And then if we had an emergency come up in 2 or 3 years, like the lake again, we wouldn't be able to borrow any money. Because we'd be able to. Well, now we still have. Oh, you're gonna be a lair. You're gonna be a lair now. You'll be able to go back to the well, give me. That's right. Yeah, let's go back and give them.
You know, we're not going back to the well now, Bob. I guess I have a hard time understanding where you guys come from. I just explained to you, this is going to have zero tax impact, minimal to zero tax impact on anybody in the town. Well, so it's almost a gift. I mean, if you ever see the LaPorte County Commissioners, or I'm sorry, it's the council to put it through. If you ever see a LaPorte County councilman, I would shake their hand because that allowed this town to provide fire service and come up with a public safety building essentially for not much money.
Well, I hope you're right. The time will.
There's no hoping to it. If you read the documents, you come to these meetings and you like to ask questions, and I think that's wonderful. I really do. It's important that the public ask questions, but you need to be a little better informed when you come. Because when you spew misinformation, that's very difficult for people. We're trying to give you the story. The documents are available. If you contact the clerk's office, you can find the documents. You can answer your own questions. But to come in here, and start questioning people's integrity and talk about whether we did the right thing and all, that's a little hard to take after a few times. Well, I'll tell you, you're the only, I would love to have the dollars back that it's cost this town for your freedom of information requests over the last couple of years. Let me put it to you that way. If you would just come to us and ask a question of the people that are in the know, you'd get answers.
You just told me to go talk to the clerk.
No, I said if you needed specific information, you could ask the clerk. If you've got a specific question about the fire department, much as you did tonight, which is great, no problem. I appreciate the questions. But when you come and start spewing misinformation and then trying to set up some kind of a false conspiracy theory, that's a little tough to take.
I didn't think it was.
You're not sitting on this side of the table, Bob.
Okay.
Okay,
You're having your opinion.
there you go.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments?
Hi, Larry Barna, 2016 Somerset. My understanding behind this project is that you're selling the property, the land, to the building corporation, correct?
Transfer.
You're transferring it, okay? So that's going to go on the tax rolls, correct? Well, I read the LLC. And we're responsible for $325,000 annual payment on the building. Plus, the town is also liable for property taxes on the land and also any alterations and maintenance on the building. So now you're talking more than $325,000 a year. You're talking additions on there. And I'm gonna give a rough estimate. Maybe your first couple of years, you're not gonna have major maintenance because of the building, but any alterations or additions you put to it, the town's gonna be liable for, not the building corporation. So what advantage is it sending this property over to a building corporation?
So we'll still have bonding capacity in case we have an emergency. Because if we put it all in the town bond limit, we'd be at our max. We couldn't borrow any more money if we needed to in an emergency.
And the bonding limit, my understanding on this is up to $10 million over the life of the,
You just need to look at the documents. First of all, I don't know where you got the idea that property taxes were gonna be involved.
it's right in the LLC, it's written in it. Maybe you need to read the documents.
I'll tell you what, if you have a specific question, email the town clerk, he'll get it to us and we'll answer it for you if it's that detailed.
That's question, we will have our CBA deal with it, but, under your theory, then every.
It's not a theory, I'm just telling you that the LLC said.
Position, every school that's being built with the same construct that we're doing would have to be paying property taxes, but I don't believe they do.
I think you,
Exactly. It's still a public facility.
I think you may have misread the document. So I'll tell you what, just put your question in writing, get it to the clerk, we'll get it to the attorney and he'll answer it for you. Because obviously we don't have an answer for you as we sit here. I think you're misreading the document.
No.
There's never any property tax in.
So I'm not being smart. I've got 20 years experience in contract and I got several LLCs of my own for my property management. So I know what I'm reading.
Very good. If you want to put your question in writing and get it to the town clerk, he'll get it to the attorney and we'll answer that specific question. I think you're misinformed. You're 2 minutes up unless you have something real quick. We got that. Okay. Anybody else? All right, we'll call it quits. Night, everybody.